Future Generations Day. My name is Mary Margaret Savonni. I'm a member of the Canadian Youth Delegation, and every time I stand at a podium I'm reminded of how short I am, which is a sign of, I suppose, my youthfulness, but I don't think I'm going to grow out of this, so it'll be a constant reminder throughout my life, I think, of the importance of youth, maybe. So today at this event, we're going to share some U.S., Canadian, and South Asian perspectives on climate change, and our panelists are going to share some local solutions as well as global actions that they've been partaking in. So we've just a little bit about Young and Future Generations Day. It celebrates the youth power and participation at the UN climate change negotiations. And more specifically, our call for intergenerational equity. We've got over 1,000 youth gathered in Cancun to press international leaders for action and solutions to the climate crisis. And so today is really a culmination of that call, and you'll be seeing us around the next little while in these shirts until the end of the COP, making that call. In addition to side events, we're doing a number of Youngo activities. Notably, we've got an action at 1 o'clock, immediately following this event, in the booth area, and it'll be a youth market, so you don't want to miss that. We've also got a Young Scientists press conference at 1:30 in the Moon Palace, and we've also got a young people's celebration hosted at Klima Forum this evening, and you're very welcome to join us to that. So without further ado, I'd like to present our first presenter from the US. Abigail Bora is a second-year college student at Middlebury College in Vermont, and she's currently studying environmental studies and conservation biology, and she's going to talk to us about an initiative in Vermont where, in response to the Vermont State Senate vote to shut down the leaking Vermont Yankee power plant, she participated in an initiative called Race to Replace, which was formed as a grassroots student campaign to promote clean, renewable energy options. And they essentially mobilized young voters to get to the polls. So let's hear some more about that.
Mary Margaret said, I'm Abigail. I'm from the Sustain Us delegation. I'm from the US, and today I'll be presenting about the Race to Replace Vermont Yankee campaign. All right, so if you don't know, hopefully you can see the map in the middle. Vermont is a very small state in the northeastern part of the US, and in our state, about a third of our energy came from Vermont Yankee, which is a leaking power plant. It's leaking tritium. And it employs about 300 people, so it's sort of a controversial issue because it does employ many people, and jobs are a very important thing in Vermont because we don't have that many of them. But it was a safety concern and also a clean energy concern. So a bunch of Middlebury students, myself included, and actually another person on our delegation, got together and we said, okay, what can we do about this? And that was about February. And the state Senate voted to close down the Vermont plant by 2012, but that was a vote that could be changed, and we made sure with our campaign that Vermont Yankee would be closed and replaced. We had a goal of replaced with 100% clean energy. And so it was a race to replace not only the Vermont Yankee power plant, but it was also a race to replace our governor, who was very in favor of keeping this power plant alive and running. And so it was two races, the race to replace Vermont Yankee as well as the race to replace the governor. And there was a gubernatorial election this past November, and spoiler, it was successful, so we have a governor that will replace Vermont Yankee with 100% clean energy, but that was our first goal. Our second goal was to activate the youth vote. We'll have a slide about it in the next one, but we thought that for Vermont, it's very important that the youth have a say in the political process. And so we wanted to activate young people across the state, both in colleges, high schools, and then just the post-college year, to participate in voting. Another goal was to create a network of young Vermont voters. There isn't really a strong environmental network in Vermont, despite the fact that Vermont is a very strong environmental state and has a reputation of being a green mountain state. So that was one of our goals. And then the fourth one was that we wanted to have the clean energy technologies that would replace Vermont Yankee, provide jobs and provide opportunities for economic expansion. Okay, so this is sort of a run-through of the clean energy options for Vermont. On the left is what we had in 2008, I guess it is. And as you can see, the red, I believe, is Vermont Yankee, so it's about a third. We have a fair amount from Hydro-Quebec, which is a hydropower plant. So it's not Vermont energy, and another one of our goals was to have Vermont provide its own energy. And so on the right, this is a report that was produced by Vermont Public Interest Research Group, VPIRG, and it's a moderate scenario, so it's not the most radical that we could go, but we're keeping Hydro-Quebec, which is sort of too bad, because we wanted to have 100% clean energy for Vermont, provided by Vermont. But we're replacing Vermont Yankee with solar, with wind, with microhydro, and with biomass. Okay, so this is the situation of voters in Vermont. Politicians don't think that youth care about issues. They don't care about the issues because they don't think there's a constituency large enough for there to be a vote. And this is just a graph. Only about a quarter of the youth in Vermont actually show up at the polls, which is really too bad because only 1 in 10 voters in Vermont is a young person. And so one of our goals as college students was to say, how can we get more people excited about the voting process? Because it's not that fun, especially in a midterm election where people aren't going out for Obama afterwards. There was sort of an expectation that youth wouldn't go out to the polls again. So we decided we couldn't just use the usual tactics of standing on street corners with a sign that said register to vote, because that wasn't getting anyone's attention. It had been used before, but it wasn't exciting, it wasn't activating the youth vote. It might have activated some adults who were into that, but we needed to have something that was really creative. So for the next part of the presentation, I'm just going to go through some of the creative actions we use to help register voters, to try to make it accessible, fun, and hopefully you'll think it's fun too. So the first thing we had, on April 30th, we had a bike ride. We had about 50 students come out, and we rode our bikes from Montpelier, where we had a rally. We had all of the gubernatorial candidates come and talk to us about their platforms. And so we had a big kickoff event, and then we biked from Montpelier, which is the capital of Vermont, to Burlington, which is a major city in Vermont. It's about 44 miles, so nothing big. And just tried to get people excited about it. We were all wearing t-shirts, we had a big press conference at the end of it, and so that was sort of the beginning. And then the next part of the campaign was to have a photo petition. We decided that it would be really great if we had the same messaging that we could bring across the state, and we took pictures of all people, whether it was on the street corners, at fairs, agricultural fairs, and we posted those all on our website. So there's a few more slides. We also got a lot of fun looking people to pose with our sign, as you can see, Mr. Cornman. Young people as well, old people as well. All right. Our third action was to have a tricycle campaign, which was sort of a fun idea. We decided that, we'd been standing on street corners for a while trying to get people to register, but it wasn't really attracting that much attention. So if you can see in this slide, we have our registration inspiration transportation station. And it was a tricycle with a horn. We had a box in the back where we had clipboards with registration forms. Registering to vote in Vermont is really easy. You just have to fill in your name and your driver's license. So it's not like a hard process. You don't have to go to the town hall. And so because youth weren't going to the town hall to register, we brought registration to them in the places that they were. Another tactic we had once college started was that we spent one Saturday morning knocking on everyone's doors really early and bringing registration forms, and we were all dressed up in our shirts and making a really exciting campaign. We also stood outside all the dining halls, and we registered hundreds of college students through the dorm storm voter registration. We also registered voters on the tops of mountains. This is Mount Mansfield, and as you can see, we dressed up and we stopped hikers and we asked them to register. because people weren't going to the town hall, so we had to go to the top of the mountains. Another campaign we ran was running an 11-year-old candidate for governor. We decided, sort of along the lines of how old will you be in 2050, that our politicians were too old to understand youth issues. And so if they didn't understand youth issues, youth would present our own issues. So I have a short video to play, which was a video we sent and it went viral of the candidate we ran, which was one of our campaign leaders, younger brothers. We actually had people contact us wondering if he was actually running, because in Vermont we have a very large group of fringe candidates who run on very strange platforms. So